The after-hours library, where the world finally softens. There's a moment so small you almost miss it, when the world loosens its grip on you. Maybe you've felt it before, that hush between one breath and the next, when everything around you seems to exhale. That's the moment when the library appears, not on any map, not at the end of any familiar street, but somewhere quieter, somewhere that only opens when your mind is tired enough to need gentleness instead of logic. And tonight, as you find yourself standing before its tall wooden doors, there's a strange, comforting sense of déjà vu, as if you've been here before in dreams you barely remember, as if the place has been waiting for you. The doors don't creak, they sigh. A soft, welcoming sound, like someone drawing back a blanket so you can slip underneath. And when you step inside, the silence isn't empty. It's warm. It wraps around you the way old memories do, smoothing the edges of the day. You pause there in the threshold, letting your shoulders drop, letting the quiet settle into your chest like a slow-setting stone. The air carries a scent you can't place at first. A mix of old paper, soft dust, something faintly sweet, like the fragrance of a childhood afternoon long ago when everything felt slower, softer, safer. Isn't it strange how a smell can hold your hand and guide you into stillness? Dim shelves stretch out before you, tall and shadowy, forming gentle corridors that seem to bend with your breath. Nothing here is harsh or eager. Even the quiet feels as though it has been cushioned just for you. Every step you take seems to sink into the floorboards without a sound, as if the library doesn't want to disturb the thoughts you're still carrying. And maybe you notice this, how the space feels alive, but in a tender, listening way. Not watching you, just receiving you. As if it understands how heavy the day has been, how crowded your mind still is, how hard it's been to find a corner of the world where you don't have to perform or hurry or hold yourself together. Here, you don't have to do any of that. You walk deeper inside, your fingers brushing lightly along the spines of books you don't recognize, though somehow they feel familiar. Some of them hum faintly beneath your touch. Not an audible sound, but something like the soft vibration of a cat resting on your lap. A quiet reassurance. You made it. You're safe. Let yourself rest. There are no clocks here, no schedules. Time folds in on itself like softened parchment. You're allowed to linger, to slow down, to simply exist without being pulled in a dozen directions. And even though you haven't met the librarian yet, you can sense their presence somewhere in the deeper corridors, arranging things, preparing something for you, something gentle, something you've unknowingly needed for far too long. For now, you just stand there, breathing in the warm stillness, letting the after-hours hush seep into the spaces inside you that haven't been quiet in a while. Take your time. There's no rush. The library has waited this long. It can wait a little more. The whispering lanterns that sense your mood. There's a hallway just ahead, narrow, gentle, almost shy in the way it invites you forward. And as you take your first quiet steps into it, something subtle happens. The lanterns hanging along the walls begin to glow a little warmer, as if responding to the rhythm of your breath. It's such a small detail you might brush it off at first. But then another lantern brightens softly when you exhale, and you realize they're not lighting the hallway. They're lighting you. They seem to know exactly what kind of glow you need tonight. Some lanterns hold a dim amber warmth, like candlelight inside a seashell. Others shimmer faintly with the softness of the moon through fog. None of them flicker harshly. None of them demand your attention. They simply exist in quiet harmony, whispering their golden light into the spaces around you, softening every shadow so nothing feels sharp or intrusive. And maybe you notice the gentlest thing. The lanterns don't just sense your footsteps, they sense your mood. The ones closest to you shift color slightly, the glow settling into a comfortable, steady warmth that seems to say, it's all right to slow down now. Isn't it strange, and strangely comforting, how a little bit of light can feel almost like companionship? As you move deeper down the corridor, the lanterns sway ever so slightly, even though there's no draft. Their motion reminds you of someone nodding along to your thoughts, quietly acknowledging the weight you've carried today. If you pause, even for a heartbeat, they wait with you, patient and loyal, their glow resting gently on your shoulders like warm hands. This is a place where even the light understands you. One lantern, a little larger than the others, hangs lower, inviting you to come closer. When you do, it releases a small pulse of brightness that feels almost like a whisper brushing past your ear. Not words, exactly. More like a feeling. A quiet reassurance. Something like, you've been tense for so long. Let this be a soft place to breathe. And maybe you do breathe. A little deeper. A little slower. With each inhale, the lanterns brighten just a touch. With each exhale, they dim into a sweet, calming glow. It's as if they're syncing themselves with you, helping guide your mind toward a rhythm that feels more natural, more peaceful. You start to notice the corridor widening a bit, becoming more spacious, as if the lanterns have led you into a part of the library that only opens to people who need comfort rather than knowledge. Above you, their warm light pools into a soft halo, gently blurring the edges of everything, the shelves, the floor, even your worries. For a moment, you might even wonder, have these lanterns been following me my whole life, waiting for a night like this, when quiet light is more healing than words? The thought doesn't feel strange, just tender. And as you continue down the hallway, wrapped in this gentle orchestration of glowing warmth, you sense that the lanterns are guiding you towards someone who has been expecting you, someone who keeps watch over all the thoughts you've tucked away, all the ones you've forgotten, all the ones you wish you could release. The librarian is just ahead, but there's no hurry. Meeting the librarian who knows your unspoken thoughts. The lanterns lead you to a quiet alcove, the kind that feels tucked away from the rest of the world. The air shifts a little here, deepening into something softer, like a blanket settling across your shoulders. And before you even see anyone, you feel it, the presence of someone gentle, familiar, unhurried. Someone who moves through silence the way others move through rooms. Then you notice the desk. Old wood, worn smooth in all the places where hands have rested, leaned, hesitated. There are papers scattered across it, but not in a messy way. More like a quiet constellation, each one placed exactly where it belongs. A small lamp glows beside them, not bright, just warm enough to feel like a heartbeat. And there, sitting behind the desk, is the librarian. You almost don't notice them at first. They blend into the atmosphere. The way soft music blends into a peaceful morning. Their posture is relaxed, their hands folded loosely on the desk, as if they've been waiting for you. Not anxiously, not expectantly, but with a steady kind of patience that feels oddly comforting. When they look up, their eyes carry the calm of someone who has seen every version of you. The tired one, the overwhelmed one, the hopeful one, the one who keeps trying even when the day has felt too long. And there's no judgment in their gaze, only recognition. A small smile touches their face, the kind that asks nothing of you. They gesture gently for you to come closer. As you step forward, you might notice the most curious thing. The librarian's expression changes not based on what you say, but based on what you feel. Even the thoughts you haven't spoken aloud. Their eyes seem to soften when they sense you're holding something heavy inside. Their shoulders relax when your breath steadies. Their presence adjusts, itself to match yours, the way water settles around a stone. It's almost unnerving how deeply they seem to understand you, and yet somehow it doesn't feel invasive. It feels like relief. Long day, they ask, but the question is light, almost whispered, and you get the unmistakable sense that they already know the answer. They're not asking for information. They're asking to give you permission to admit it, even silently, even just to yourself. And when you nod, their smile warms. I thought so, they murmur. That's why the shelves started shifting earlier. They always do when you're carrying too much. You blink, surprised. The shelves shifting? For me? But the librarian only tilts their head slightly, as if to say, of course, they care about you too. They rise slowly from their chair, not abrupt or hurried. Every movement is gentle, deliberate, the way someone moves when they want you to feel safe. When they walk around the desk to stand beside you, their presence carries the quiet authority of someone who's spent a lifetime sorting, organizing, understanding the inner worlds of others. You don't have to explain anything tonight, they say softly. Just let me help you put things where they belong. And something inside you loosens. Maybe you didn't even realize how tightly you've been holding your thoughts, your feelings, your worries. But the librarian's voice, calm, steady, almost like velvet brushing along your mind, makes it easier to breathe. They offer their hand, palm up. Come, they say, the library has prepared a place for your thoughts. You feel no pressure, only invitation, only a quiet, wordless reassurance that you won't be carrying everything alone tonight. The shelves that rearrange themselves around your heartbeat. The librarian leads you down a narrow aisle, and for a moment you almost believe the shelves are perfectly still. But then, as your breath slows, as the warmth of their presence begins to settle into your chest, something subtle shifts, a soft creak, a quiet hum beneath the wood, a gentle sway in the air. It's as if the shelves have been waiting to feel you. You walk a little farther, and that's when you notice it clearly. The books are moving, not in a jarring, magical spectacle kind of way, but in a slow, fluid rhythm, almost like seaweed drifting in a quiet tide. Each spine adjusts itself, aligning not to logic or alphabetical order, but to the steady beat inside your chest. The librarian notices your hesitation and smiles. They like to keep pace with you, they say, helps them figure out what you need. Your heartbeat isn't loud, but the shelves respond to it as though it's the most important sound in the room. When it quickens, even slightly, a few books slide inward, tucking themselves deeper into the shadows, as if trying not to overwhelm you. When your heartbeat steadies, the shelves relax, expanding gently, creating more space around you, space to breathe, space to think, space to stop thinking. Listen, the librarian murmurs. At first, you're not sure what you're supposed to hear, but then it arrives, a faint rustling, like the soft turning of pages somewhere deep within the stacks, a sound that aligns perfectly with the slow, steady rhythm of your pulse. It isn't random, it isn't accidental, it's a quiet conversation between your body and the library itself. Every emotion has a pulse, the librarian says kindly. Tonight we're letting yours speak. You reach out and let your fingertips brush a row of old bindings. They're cool at first, but then something warm rises beneath your touch. A subtle thrum, a heartbeat that isn't yours. The shelves are sinking to you, adjusting their internal rhythm to match your emotional weight. It feels like being understood without saying a word. Some shelves bow slightly toward you, offering themselves gently. Others pull back, giving you space. It's intimate in a way that isn't overwhelming, almost like being embraced by the architecture itself. Do you see? The librarian whispers. They're making room for you. And they are. With every breath you take, the path widens just a little more. The shelves straighten, like good listeners leaning in. The books tilt softly, their titles shimmering faintly as though illuminated from within, but only for a moment, only when you look directly at them. When you glance away, they dim again, respectful, never demanding attention. You walk deeper into this shifting, responsive world, and the shelves move with you, never too fast, never too close. They adjust like a friend stepping in and out of your personal space, depending on what you need. The librarian watches with the same warm patience as before. They're trying to tell you, they say gently, that your feelings don't have to be sorted all at once. You don't have to make sense of everything tonight. One shelf leans forward, a single book protruding slightly as if nudging you, not insisting, just offering. It carries no title on its spine, only a soft handwritten mark, a breath of ink. The librarian nods toward it. Today's worries, they say quietly. They've been waiting for you. You swallow softly. The book doesn't look heavy, yet it carries a strange gravity, like something you've been avoiding finally showing up in a shape you can touch. The librarian places a reassuring hand at the center of your back, warm and steady. No rush, they whisper. We'll take them out slowly, thought by thought, pocket by pocket. And as the shelves settle into stillness around you, your heartbeat now calm and steady, you sense what comes next, the gentle ritual of unpacking the day. The ritual of gently removing today's worries from your pockets. There's a small wooden table waiting for you, low, rounded at the edges as if it were carved. With the intention of never startling anyone, the librarian guides you toward it with a quiet gesture, the kind that makes you feel as though you've done this together many times before. Maybe you have, in dreams, or in those moments between waking and sleep, when your mind wanders somewhere softer. A cushioned chair sits beside the table, and when you lower yourself into it, the seat gives a little, welcoming your weight, as though it had been warming itself just for you. The librarian settles into the chair opposite you, their presence steady, grounding. They place the untitled book, the one that holds today's worries, onto the table with deliberate gentleness. Then they look at you with a knowing softness. Let's begin slowly, they say. Sometimes the day hangs on longer than we intend. Their words linger in the air like warm steam. You don't have to speak. You don't have to explain. The librarian simply lifts a small wooden tray from beneath the table, setting it between you. It's empty, and for now. But the surface gleams faintly, as if it has spent years collecting invisible burdens and letting them dissolve. Check your pockets, the librarian murmurs. And even though you know you're not carrying anything physical, your hands move instinctively. You slip your fingers into the fabric beside your hip, and something is there. Not an object, not exactly, more like a feeling given shape. When you pull it out, you find a small, fragile thing resting in your palm. It looks like a folded note made of thin, translucent paper, its edges crinkled with tension. The librarian nods gently. That one sat with you all afternoon, didn't it? You don't have to answer. The way the paper trembles slightly in your hand says enough. When you place it on the tray, it makes the faintest sound. A soft whisper, like a sigh finally released. As soon as it touches the tray, the note dissolves into a faint shimmer of dust. Gone. Not forgotten, but no longer pressing against your ribs. You try another pocket. This time you pull out something heavier. A small stone, warm, pulsing faintly, as if echoing a moment that replayed itself in your mind too many times today. The librarian leans forward, their gaze kind, understanding. That one felt sharp earlier, didn't it? It's softened now. You place the stone onto the tray. It doesn't disappear right away. Instead, it melts slowly, like ice under warm sunlight. It leaves no residue, no mark, only an empty space where weight used to be. You take a breath, and the breath feels easier. You check your coat pocket, the inside one, the one you rarely use. Your fingers curl around something crinkled and delicate. When you pull it free, you find a tiny paper bird, wings folded tight, its shape tense, as if it's been trying to hold itself together all day. "Oh," the librarian whispers, so softly it almost feels like a blessing. That one was tucked away deep. You smooth a finger along the bird's back. It quivers, not in fear but in recognition. You didn't mean to carry it so long. You place it gently on the tray, and it unfurls its wings before dissolving into a warm puff of golden dust. Pocket by pocket, thought by thought, the ritual continues. A tangled thread of worry from this morning, a small knot of self-doubt from midday, a faint, almost invisible scrap of tension from a conversation you barely remember. Each one appears when your hand seeks it. Each one takes its turn on the tray. Each one releases its hold on you in its own quiet way. When at last your pockets come up empty, the librarian closes their eyes briefly, almost in gratitude. "There," they murmur. "You've done enough for one day." You feel lighter, not empty, just unburdened. As if the library has taken your worries and filed them gently somewhere far from where they can tug at you. The librarian touches the book on the table, fingers resting lightly on its cover. "There's one more place we must visit," they say softly, "a room where the oldest waits sleep. The hidden room of forgotten waits." The librarian rises slowly, their chair barely making a sound as it shifts back into place. They give you a small nod. Not urging, not directing, simply acknowledging the quiet courage it takes to set down what you've been carrying. Then they gesture for you to follow, their robes whispering softly against the floor as they lead you away from the table. The shelves around you grow taller as you walk, stretching upward like ancient trees that have been listening for centuries. The air cools slightly. Not in a chilling way, but in that soothing, late-night kind of coolness that clears the fog from your mind. You notice a subtle change in the lighting. The lanterns dim here, casting a gentle twilight, the sort that softens edges and encourages you to step a little closer to yourself. "There's a room the library keeps locked most days," the librarian murmurs as you walk, "not to hide anything, only because people need to be ready before the door opens." Their words settle into you like a quiet truth. This room is not meant to overwhelm you, but to meet you at a moment when your heart is steady enough to look back without fear. You reach a narrow archway carved with symbols you can't quite decipher. They aren't letters, not exactly, more like memories shaped into patterns. When the librarian lays their hand against the arch, the symbols glow faintly, like embers being coaxed back to life. With a soft groan, the wooden door behind the arch drifts open, slow and reverent. The room beyond is dusky and still. It's larger than you expected. A gentle cavern of shelves and drawers, each one holding something old, something faint, something that once weighed on you so heavily that it left a shape behind. But none of it feels threatening. There's no darkness, waiting to swallow you. Instead, the entire room carries the hush of long-forgotten emotions that have lost their sharpness. As you step inside, you feel it immediately. A strange, tender calm. The librarian walks ahead, their hands folded behind their back. "This is where the worries you carried years ago ended up," they say softly. "The ones you survived, the ones you outgrew, the ones that seemed enormous once, but now..." Their voice trails off as they gesture toward a small, open drawer. Curiosity draws you closer. Inside the drawer rests a single object, a small glass sphere. You lift it carefully, and inside the sphere is a faint, swirling shape, something like a cloud, something like a memory. And as you tilt it, you feel a flicker of recognition. You remember this, a fear that once kept you awake. A moment that felt too big for your younger self. A worry that once pressed hard against your chest. But now, it feels small enough to hold. Old weights rarely vanish, the librarian says quietly, but they soften. They lose their teeth. They forget how to hurt you. You set the sphere back down, feeling an unexpected warmth settle into your hands. Another shelf hums gently as you pass. You look inside and find a faded bundle of threads, frayed, tangled, once impossibly knotted. You touch them lightly. The knot doesn't tighten. It doesn't bite. It simply rests, fragile and harmless. There are objects everywhere. A cracked teacup that once represented disappointment. A paper mask worn thin by an old insecurity. A wilted flower made of ash, symbolizing a moment you mourned for too long. Each one holds a past ache, but none of them hold power anymore. They feel like echoes, gentle reminders of how far you've come. You walk slowly through the room, the silence deep and comforting. The librarian stays close but doesn't intrude. They know this is a place where you're meant to see yourself with tenderness, not judgment. After a while, they speak again, their voice barely above a murmur. You don't have to carry what has already been set down, they say. You only needed to remember that it's safe to let things soften. You sweep your gaze around the room one last time, realizing that the weights you once feared have transformed into artifacts. Relics of a journey you navigated with more resilience than you gave yourself credit for. The librarian gently touches your arm, guiding you back toward the door. There's one final step, they whisper. Let's file everything into silence. The ceremony of filing everything into silence. The librarian closes the door to the hidden room with the care of someone tucking a child into sleep. The soft click of the latch feels less like an ending and more like a long, slow exhale. A gentle acknowledgement that you've looked back far enough for tonight. They walk beside you through the dim hallway, their steps quiet and measured. The shelves here are calmer than before, no longer shifting to match your heartbeat. They seem to know that the heaviest part is over, and all that remains is the slow unwinding, the last unraveling of tension. There's a place meant for endings, the librarian murmurs, almost as if speaking to the air rather than to you. Not the hard kind, just the kind that let you rest. You follow them into a circular chamber where the ceiling curves like the inside of a shell. The walls are lined with drawers of every shape and size, some tall and slender, others short and wide, each made of warm, glowing wood. No labels, no numbers, just an endless sea of quiet places where thoughts can sleep undisturbed. A faint hush hums through the room. It's so soft, you almost mistake it for your own breath. At the center stands a wooden podium, polished by time and touch. The librarian places the untitled book on it, the book that has held today's worries, the pieces you took from your pockets, the scraps you didn't even know you'd carried. Its cover looks different now, calmer somehow, as if it knows it's about to be relieved of its duty. The librarian gestures for you to step closer. This part, they say softly, is yours. You hesitate, unsure of what you're expected to do. But the moment your hand comes to rest on the book, something shifts inside you. Not dramatically, not all at once, just a small loosening, like the very beginning of a knot unraveling. The librarian opens the book for you. Instead of pages, you find soft sheets of light, each one carrying the faint outline of a worry you released earlier. They don't look like they did in your pockets. They're lighter now, almost translucent, like thoughts remembered from far away. Choose the drawer that feels right, the librarian whispers. There are hundreds to choose from, but your body knows before your mind does. You notice a drawer near your elbow. A small one, simple, warm to the touch. When you pull it open, A gentle breeze kisses your fingers, as if the drawer itself is breathing slowly, patiently. You lift one sheet of light from the book. It curls slightly in your hand, delicate as morning mist. When you place it in the drawer, the light settles, flattening into a soft glow that sinks into the wood. The drawer hums once, a tiny, contented sound, then quiets. You place another sheet inside, and another. Each one rests more easily than the last. The librarian stands beside you, silent but steady, their presence like a warm weight against your back. You don't rush. You place each worry carefully, tenderly, as though shelving fragile memories in a place where they'll be safe from sharp edges or midnight spirals. None of them vanish. They don't need to. They simply stop reaching for you. By the time the last sheet of light is placed into its drawer, the book is empty, weightless. When you close the drawer, it doesn't click. It sighs as, though grateful to be trusted with such delicate things, the librarian touches the book lightly and the cover fades into a gentle glow before dissolving into the air. Its purpose fulfilled. It's done, they whisper. Not triumphant, just peacefully certain. You feel it then, the quiet, not just around you, but within you. Not silence like absence, silence like rest. The librarian places a warm hand over your heart, not pressing, just grounding. You've put everything away, they say. Now let the night carry you. And for the first time in a long while, you feel ready to be carried. The closing of the great book of the night. The librarian leads you from the circular chamber with a slow, steady grace, as if guiding you through the final steps of a ritual that has been practiced for centuries. The air feels different now, lighter, gentler, almost weightless. The shelves no longer shift around you. The lanterns no longer pulse with your breath. Everything is still, peaceful, quiet in a way that makes your own breath feel softer, carried by the hush of the library itself. You walk together until the aisles widen, opening into a grand, domed hall you somehow hadn't noticed before. Maybe it wasn't there until now. Maybe the library only reveals its heart once your own has steadied enough to hear it. At the center of the hall rests an enormous book. It lies upon a stone pedestal shaped like cupped hands, offering it to the room with reverence. The book is closed, its cover a deep, velvety midnight blue, shimmering softly as though painted with the glow of faraway stars. You can't read the title, not because it isn't written, but because it seems to shift and blur, as if the book holds a name too personal to be spoken aloud. The librarian stops beside you. Their voice is barely above a whisper. This is the great book of the night. They let the words settle between you before continuing. It opens when you arrive, and it closes only when your mind is ready to rest. You step closer. The pedestal is low enough that you can place your hands upon the cover. The surface is cool at first, then warms beneath your touch, as though recognizing you, welcoming you. The air around the book deepens into a soft, resonant quiet, the kind you feel in your bones rather than hear with your ears. Go on, the librarian murmurs. Close it. You curl your fingers gently around the edge of the cover. It moves easily, with no resistance, no weight. As it lowers, you hear a sound, not a thud or a snap, but something like the gentle rustle of feathers settling. A sound that feels like dusk drawing its curtain over the day. With the book fully closed, the hall brightens ever so slightly, not with light, but with calm. The librarian steps to your side, folding their hands in front of them. When the great book closes, they say, everything you've carried settles into sleep. Every thought, every worry, every echo of the day. You look at the closed cover. It no longer shimmers. It rests. A long, slow breath slips out of you. You didn't even realize you were holding it. The librarian tilts their head, studying you with a fondness that feels ancient. "Do you feel it?" they ask softly. "That quiet settling inside, that soft clearing of space. That's the night making room for your dreams." You do feel it. A stillness in your chest. A soft blankness behind your eyes. A gentle float in your mind, like your thoughts have become light enough to drift. The librarian touches your shoulder, their hand warm and steady. "When you leave this place," they whisper, "you won't take your worries with you. They'll stay here, tucked safely in their drawer, sleeping in silence until morning." You glance around the hall. Everything is fading just slightly, not disappearing but softening, blurring at the edges, as if the library is slowly dimming the world for you. The lanterns grow warmer, the shelves grow hazier, the shadows stretch into gentle blankets. Even the librarian looks dreamlike now, their outline glowing faintly in the settling hush. "Rest now," they murmur. "The night has you." You feel the floor tilt towards softness. The air deepens into velvet. Your eyelids grow heavy, heavy and warm. As the librarian's form blurs into gentle light, the last thing you sense is a quiet assurance, a feeling that you are safe, held, and gently carried. By the hush of a place built for rest, the great book of the night stays closed. Your thoughts remain filed away, and you drift, slowly, softly, into the peaceful dark that waits with open arms.